This is cs952, Introduction to Web Technologies and Design, and we're looking at our code view now. And over here in my DOM panel, I'm going to click on the uppermost element, which is HTML. And as you can see, everything on our web page is highlighted because all of our code is highlighted because this is all HTML code. If I just click on the head tag, only the head code is highlighted and nothing else is. So this code that you see highlighted in this section, that's the head of our document. If I click on the body tag, now we can see that the body is highlighted. Within our head code, we've got a couple of these called meta tags that provide generalized information about your web page. We're never going to change these. We have the title. Now the title will be different for every single web page. So the title for our home page is going to be home page. The title for our image gallery is going to be gallery. And then we have another tag here that says link. So this shows us the links that we have. Right now we only have one link on this page, and it's a link to our bootstrap.css file. So when this page loads, the web browser is told you need to load the page bootstrap.css, and that page bootstrap.css, it has all of the Bootstrap CSS rules. Remember, we talked about CSS, cascading style sheets. Those are the rules that we use to make things look a certain way on a web page. So that's what we have in the head. If we look in the body, if I click on the body tag, so this is the body tag. Anything that you see on a web page is always in the body tag. So let's look at our body tag. The first element that we see is our navigation. So if I click on this first tag, I'm going to see here's all of my navigation. And we have a tag here, the opening tag for our navigation. You can see there is an arrow that points to the left, and then it says nav. That is an opening tag in HTML. Now there's a little cheat sheet that's included that gives you the basic HTML tags. There's maybe only like 8 or 10 that we're going to be using this whole class, and there's only maybe 8 or 10 CSS rules that you need to know. So this is an opening tag for our navigation, and then everything that's inside of our navigation, this is our opening tag. We can scroll all the way down and we'll see our closing tag. Closing tag looks just like the opening tag, only it's got a / in front of it. And then once we look inside of our navigation, we're going to see there's lots of parts inside of the navigation tag. So when we talk about how web pages are put together, people always talk about the box model, because we have a box inside of a box inside of a box inside of a box. Now if you want to know where you are in this box model, Dreamweaver has a lot of tools to help you out. We've been looking at the DOM panel, right? So I've got this last span selected. If I go over here a little bit to the left, I'm going to see the status bar. And if you look, you can see the status bar. That's a span. Again, it takes us all the way through this path. There's the anchor, there's the list item. At the very left of our status bar is the body tag, right? Because everything that we have on our web page that we're working with that we see, it's all inside that body tag. This status bar is super helpful. We're going to be using the status bar all the time, because if I say, you know, select the unordered list, you can click on the unordered list right here in this status bar. And the status bar is always visible. It's always available anytime you need it. Status bar is very important. Now when we click on something in our status bar, when we click on something for editing, the next super helpful tool that we have in Dreamweaver is the Property Inspector. And the Property Inspector is this section that's underneath the status bar. The Property Inspector may be the single most helpful thing in all of Dreamweaver. The Property Inspector shows you the properties of whatever you're editing, and this is the really great part, it changes the properties depending on what you're editing. So if I'm editing an anchor, if I click here on the anchor tag, it shows me properties that are relevant to an anchor. If I click on an image, it shows me properties that are relevant to an image, like, you know, width, size, things like that. If you're coding by hand, you may have a difficult time remembering, well, what are all the properties of an image and what are all the properties of an anchor, Dreamweaver knows what these various properties are and always displays them for us. So we don't have to try and remember what all these properties are. When we click on an anchor, an anchor can have a tag, a title. It can have a target. We can see our target down here. We can assign it to a class. We have a class button. We can give it a different format. We can give it an ID. Remember we talked about classes and IDs earlier, right? When we click on the class, we're going to see a long list of classes because Bootstrap has a huge number of classes built into it. Look at all those classes. These are all different classes that are built into Bootstrap. If we wanted to give something an appearance of danger, we could use this button danger class. It's going to make whatever we've clicked on turn red. IDs, we do not have any IDs defined yet. But if we did have an ID defined, we would see that pop up down here in our ID list. So we're kind of working our way around the page. We started off with the panels on the right hand side, and we talked about our DOM view, the status bar, very, very helpful, and then we have our property inspector. And now as we move up around the page, since we're in code view, we see all these items related to code view. We're not going to be covering any of these in this course. We're not going to be getting really that deep into code view. The only thing that we use code view for is when we want to type in specific changes. That's a little bit easier sometimes to do in code view. Right here we have what we call the standard toolbar, and I have that enabled. If you don't see the standard toolbar, if I unclick that, you may not see your standard toolbar, and I'm going to maybe turn off my document view. Now, when you start Dreamweaver, you may not have those additional views. If you want to see them over here on the left-hand side, I'm going to right-click with my mouse, and I can click on Document, and that gives me my document view. And then I can right-click again and choose Standard View. And so now we have our standard tools, which is undo, redo. The one I like the best is Save All. Whenever I talk about Save All, this is the button that we're going to be clicking on. And then as we continue up here to the top, we've got our code view. If we want to see what this page looks like in live view, we click on Live View. Then we have Split View. Splits our code into two different sections. This next item across the top, this is our related files. These are files that are needed in order for this web page to work. And generally speaking, we're not going to be making any changes to these files. If we wanted to see what does our Bootstrap file look like, we can click on this. It shows us all of our Bootstrap code. If you only want to see code, switch on the Code button. If you want to see code and Live View, click on Split View. If you want to see the code for the web page you're editing, that's under Source Code. And then we're back to the very top here. So File has our basic file commands: New, Open, Save. Edit, we're not going to be using the Edit menu too much. View, you can change your view settings. Now Insert, I like this Insert panel a lot. The items in the Insert panel are largely duplicating the items that are also in the Insert panel here on the right. And since we're going to be using both HTML and Bootstrap, we'll be working with Bootstrap components displayed in our Insert panel here, and then using this top panel menu, Insert panel, to insert other things like HTML. Kind of gives us a way to switch between HTML and Bootstrap very quickly. And then we have Modify, Format, commands. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on these because we're generally speaking, we're not going to be getting into these menus. You can see there's a lot to cover in Dreamweaver, but we just want to focus on getting the essentials of getting our website together. The only thing that we're really using here in the upper menu bar is our new site and our managed sites. We did that once when we set up our site, and then of course the insert items. So we're going to wrap this up, and then we're going to just have one more video, have a quick look at what's on our Bootstrap layout page.